And today I would like to introduce you a concept of vulnerability coordination. So let me start my talk with the simple question. Do you know how many vulnerabilities announced in 2017 last year? The answer is over 13,000. It's a very big number. And actually, this is the record-breaking number last year. And the number is increasing year by year. And so there are many vulnerabilities in daily life. And maybe you may still remember that macOS has a very severe empty root password issue that allowed everyone to authenticate as root user without any password. And another thing I feel interesting, this is actually from 2016, called HTTP Proxy. Maybe someone may know this in detail, but it's a very simple vulnerability that suppose you have a web server running CGI that connects to the backend server, and attacker sends HTTP request with proxy header to CGI, and then the value of the header is defined as HTTP proxy environment variable in web server. And then CGI uses HTTP proxy as a proxy host and port. So as a result, attacker can route any request to backend server to any server. And when I read this description in 2016, I feel 確かにと思いました。Yeah, but it's actually specification defined in 2004, and it hasn't noticed by anyone until then. So they look very simple and very easy, but it's actually, these vulnerabilities actually exist in production software, widely used production software, like operating systems and web servers. So in other words, everyone has a chance to find vulnerability if you're using computer software or web application. So regarding reporting vulnerability, I chose this topic because I have been reporting vulnerabilities since 2008 as some kind of hobby. And my motivations are like this. And one is that I want to make software I use safer. And I find anything bad with the software, I don't want to ignore that because it's dangerous. It's like sending pull requests to open source projects, but yes, that's right, like that. And the second motivation is just for curiosity, and it's like solving a puzzle to find vulnerabilities in software, and also thinking of what can be done using the vulnerabilities. And sometimes you may be acknowledged publicly or gain rewards from bug bounty project. I only had one chance because it's a rare case to get rewards because there's a very high bar to get rewards actually, but there are some people who is making his living by rewards. So how to report the vulnerability if you find it in your daily life. And in general, vulnerability information must not be disclosed until fix or patch is available. And you have two choices to report vulnerabilities. One is to use vulnerability coordination, reporting via vulnerability coordination, and another is reporting directly to vendor. So maybe many of you are not familiar with vulnerability coordination, so I would like to introduce you this topic. So vulnerability coordination is a worldwide process to coordinate stakeholders in this case, reporter and vendors, software developers, so that the impact of the vulnerability is minimized as much as possible. So in Japan, there is an established vulnerability coordination scheme like this. In the middle of the graph diagram, IPA and JP-CERT-CC are the organizations in Japan, and C-CERT-CC is the organization in US. And the report works like this. First, reporter who finds the vulnerability reports the IP issue to IPA. IPA is a 独立行政法人. It's a 経済産業省の配下の独立行政法人です。And then IPA notifies JP-CERT-CC, which is less government side than IPA. It's originated from a voluntary group of security engineers. And then JP-CERT-CC starts the coordination process. The coordination, the main purpose of coordination is to help vendors find the vulnerability and recognize the vulnerability and fix it as fast as possible. And then after the fix is ready, announce the end users so that users can immediately apply the fix. And if the software is used by foreign users, or it is the issue of foreign products, there may be another coordination with CERT-CC or other coordination centers in overseas. And the coordination is very important, especially when multiple vendors are involved. For example, suppose you find a vulnerability in OpenSSH, and so the main vendor of OpenSSH is, of course, OpenSSH team, but as the software is used in various products like Linux distros, the vendors, JP-CERT will coordination center will coordinate with other vendors that using the product that is actually affected by the product, so that end users can apply the patch immediately after the announcement is made. So reporting via vulnerability coordination service is very simple. You can do that via web form or email. And this is actually the IPA website. Sorry, this is all in Japanese. And you can do web submission form and email submission form. And you can then choose. Also, I forgot to talk about one important thing. So there is a line from vendors to IPA also. And vendors can report the product vulnerability of their product found by their own to IPA, so that the coordination can be started from vendors. So it can be said as a recall of software, so that end users can know that the fix is available in the usual communication from the announcement of JP-CERT-CC. So when reporting, you need to choose whether this is a software vulnerability or web application vulnerability or submission from the vendor, and then submission from the software. You can fill the form. It has a very long form, But you can fill in the form and submit. Actually, this seems like very long form, but actually not all fields are mandatory, and it's actually very simple to fill in. And if you choose email submission, you can see what should be written in the report. As an example. So the key point is to write down how to replicate the vulnerability and why do you think that is a vulnerability. So this is the first requirement. And the second key point is the risk expected by the vulnerability. Okay, so you can do that here in that way. And actually, 2017 was a big year. In 2017, there was a big policy change in Japanese vulnerability coordination system. It was the biggest change since when the vulnerability coordination in Japan has been established. There are two major changes. One is that submitted reports will be triaged and prioritized. Formerly, the reports were processed by chronological order, so every report is treated equally. So there was a problem that important reports are delayed due to the number of reports increasing. And so the reports are now prioritized by the importance of the vulnerability. By the term importance, I mean many users are affected, and there are higher risk when the vulnerability is exploited. And that's all important issues are prioritized. And the second big change is that reporting directly to vendors can be a primary choice if the vendor has a contact channel to report security issues. When the vulnerability reporting scheme was established in Japan, there were only a few vendors that provided a security contact channel to report security issues. But nowadays, many major open source projects and web companies running web apps, it's very common to have a contact channel to report security issues. For example, please submit security issues to security@blahblah.com. So as the number of vulnerabilities are increasing, reporting directly to vendors which has a contact channel, that means that the company can handle security issues correctly so that no coordination is needed. So the reporting directly to vendors can be a primary choice. Formerly, it was not officially recommended by IPA, but now it can be a primary choice. So there are some pros and cons of choices, and this is a bit biased from my experience, but anyway, reporting it via vulnerability coordination is good because more likely to have a chance to discuss with the vendor. It's a reverse of the reporting directly, it's negative point, more likely to be silently ignored. And especially for large companies, it's very likely to be ignored. Vulnerabilities reports are likely to be ignored if we contact directly, or I contact with customer support center, so I can't pass the customer support center. And reporting view vulnerability coordination service is a bit costly because you need to understand and follow the guideline. The guideline is defined by IPA and is about 50 pages of PDF, and you need to fill the form as you see. So I'm using this scheme if the vendor is a large company without security context or multiple vendors are involved. In that case, vulnerability coordination is better. Reporting directly is very handy and less communication overhead. So it's handy if the security contact is available or immediate risk is expected. And after reporting the vulnerability, it's not the end. So you need to, additional communication may be necessary. So especially when some vendors may not accept the report as vulnerable, so the reporter needs to present another kind of attack vector or risk to persuade them. It's a very, so this is very best point as a hobby, but I never want to do this as a job, actually. But it's very interesting for me to discuss with the internal development team of the product and also understanding how they seriously treat security issues. So it's a very fun part as a hobby. And it may take few hours or to few years to finalize the whole reporting process. The longest I experienced was it took 3 years to complete since from the initial report. That is on-premise software in the vulnerability in the on-premise software, and the vendor needs to update the software in each customer location or each customer site. So it took 3 years to actually publish and finalize the vulnerability. And the shortest case is when I reported cross-site scripting to some microblog service starting with T. And actually, when I emailed to them, they responded very quickly, and they fixed and deployed the fix in 68 minutes. I can't believe that they can deploy that so quickly, but it was an incredible experience. So to wrap up, let's report security vulnerabilities. If you found one, as you now know how to do that. And it's like a special form of pull request to not only to open source projects, but also to proprietary softwares. And reporting can be done directly via coordination depending on the situation. So as a final word, I would like you to remember that every developer also has a chance to receive vulnerability reports. So vulnerability reporting is a voluntary system, basically a voluntary system built on top of trust relationship between the security researchers or security engineers or reporters and vendors. So take it seriously if you get one. Thank you. Any questions?
Yeah, so what was the bounty you got?
Bounty I got is actually Jenkins one.
Jenkins?
Jenkins, yes. It gives all security contributors to, they're giving free voucher of Jenkins store. So I can get a Jenkins t-shirt.
So how much was your bounty?
I got $50, I think.
$50? $50 of Jenkins goods?
Yes, that's good.
What did you buy?
Yeah, actually, I'm not viewing the stores, actually not yet.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, so yes.
How do you define the vulnerability for machine learning systems,
Oh, machine learning systems.
like a neural network?
I think there are some researches that to mimic the convolution network, for example. So such, for example, if you see this image, it looks like a cat, but convolution network always detects as dog. So that can be another kind of vulnerability. That can be said as another kind of vulnerability if the neural network or AI systems are becoming very common, I think. Okay, thank you very much.